Like you asked, I'm recording this session. Like once it is over, I'll share the link or.
No, that's because if somebody asks something on Ginger, I can share this recording. Otherwise, I have to tell the whole story again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So would it also be possible for you to share any presentation that you will be showing today?
Presentation is slightly difficult, but I have published a book in Kannada. That's like a field guide for ginger. It will be extremely useful for people who are going into ginger fields. So maybe your Karnataka people can take from our college. So I can spare those copies.
Sir, in this session, will you be showing any presentation like as a reference so that you can show that and keep talking on that slide, something like that?
Yeah, presentation I'll show you now. Yeah, I have one PPT. I can show that PPT.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, no problem.
That presentation, won't it be possible to be shared? No.
No. I never share my presentations. No, it's not that there's some secret in that.
Okay.
So because sometimes what I tell by seeing the presentation, the same way the presenter may not do it. Sometimes it will be misleading.
Right, sir. Right. All right.
If you go to my Facebook page on Ginger Growers Group, I have shared maximum knowledge on ginger. There are 8,000 farmers. Okay, you can use that. That will be a better reference.
Okay.
Yeah. My screen, I am unable to see the presentation option. I don't know what I've done.
So you'll have to open the presentation in the desktop, and then there is this button called share screen, green color highlighted.
No, this what the screen where I'm seeing you is minimized. It is not becoming a bigger one. Now I got it. Got it. No problem. Yeah. I think I'll just share my screen. I'll just see whether my presentation is visible or not. Is this slide visible?
It is visible, sir.
Okay. It's in Kannada, but don't worry, I'll explain in English.
So far,
if you are a Telugu speaking guy, definitely you can read the lines. It's not difficult, right?
Yeah.
Harish sir, no problem. You can explain it in English.
No,
I think everybody will know. Yes.
I think Narendra Babu will be able to read Kannada.
Language will not be a barrier. Don't worry.
Yes,
most of the slides are pictorial only. Don't worry.
Yes, sir. No problem at all, sir. You can go ahead. We will just wait for another 5-10 minutes, sir. No Everybody issues. Is joining.
No issues.
We will start off, sir.
Yeah. No problem. So now there are 12, I think. 13. Okay.
Srinivasa, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
How are you, sir?
Good. How are you? Yeah, Sumant. Hi, how are you?
Sir, I'm good, Thanks to all people.
Yeah. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Whoever has joined.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon,
sir.
Sir, we have Dr. Harish here.
Yeah.
Harish sir, he is our leaf manager, Mr. Srinivas.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, very good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. This is Srinivas Reddy.
Yeah.
I'm taking care of tobacco crop production and market buying here in Mysore.
Mysore. Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe you might have seen our college then.
Yeah, this Elwal one, no?
Yeah, Elwal College.
I did not visit, but I know that it is there, but
Even your ITC factory is very close to my college.
correct, that is our office now, Elwal
Yeah.
office.
Okay.
Every day we sit there only. Okay, next time I think I'll come and meet you, sir.
Sure.
Purnesh has sent a letter the other day, no?
Yeah.
Purnesh and all, they visited you and all. I couldn't visit. I'll visit
Okay.
in a
No problem.
shortly.
No problem, sir. Now you are, phasing out tobacco.
No, it's not phasing out tobacco. Tobacco is going to be there. It has been there for
But
last.
what I have seen,
and it-
many farmers, in tobacco area, they have started ginger this year.
Yeah. Our effort also is to ask farmers to reduce the area under tobacco, and part of the land, released land to be utilized for other crops like ginger, most profitable crops like ginger or corn. And we are working on new varieties which can give the same productivity,
Okay.
like same production with the increased productivity per hectare.
Okay.
So instead of growing in 3 to 4 acres, they can produce the same quantity in 2 acres now with the available varieties. So they can release 1 acre or 2 acres for other crops.
Okay. Sir.
So it can be a totally cropping system we are working on
Okay.
instead of only monoculture.
Then you will be knowing most of the people, scientists from CTRI.
Yeah, CTRI we know.
Madhav Swami
We
sir.
closely work
and,
with them.
Ramakrishna
Ramakrishna,
sir.
Mahadev Swami,
Okay.
Mahadev and all of them we know.
Okay.
Harish sir, we
Yeah.
have our scientist Dr. B.S. Reddy also. He's also joined.
Namaste, sir. Reddy, sir. Namaste.
Sir, namaste, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, I am BSR Reddy.
Okay.
I've been here in tobacco for last 20 years.
In Mysore.
Before joining tobacco, I worked with oil palm for about a couple of years.
Okay.
And for the last 3-4 years, I have been working on chilies and cumin also.
Cumin.
Cumin in Rajasthan, sir. Rajasthan and.
That's what I was surprised. We tried cumin in Karnataka, but we did not succeed.
No, sir. Actually, the very big problem with cumin is even with one rainfall and humidity, it will be attacked by blight.
Yeah.
It's very difficult. It grows only in the hardest conditions.
Yeah.
I am from plant pathology, sir. I am from IRA.
Excellent, sir.
So you are from Bagalkot, sir? You are from Bagalkot?
No, our headquarters is in Bagalkot. But I am working at Mysore Horticulture College.
I had opportunity to work in Bagalkot also.
Okay.
Close to Bagalkot, we established some packages of organic chili and organic turmeric also.
Excellent.
Very close to that area.
And
last 2
I
years
am closely working with turmeric farmers also.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Very nice to have you here today, sir. Actually,
it's my pleasure, sir.
I make it a point to attend for ginger because in Andhra, ginger crop is very less. We don't know much about ginger and we would like to know many from you.
So you want to increase the area and reduce the profitability for Karnataka farmers.
Now ITC, we enter into many walks of agricultural production, sir.
You make ginger flavored cigarettes or something like that, or tobacco. That will be interesting diversification.
Clove flavored cigarettes are there, sir. We call it as a Kretek cigarette. Generally, Indonesia make it. We also tried some in India.
Okay.
Why cigarettes are we are into food products? We can come out with some drinks.
Yeah, that's some ginger-based, beverages.
Ginger-based drinks. Yeah.
Definitely, sir. Very much required.
Now we are handling so many food products, sir. Not only direct raw material procurement. You must be knowing about B Natural juices from ITC.
Yeah.
Candyman, Sunfeast.
Yeah.
And Vivel in personal care. Fiamma Devils in personal care.
Okay.
So it is something like a Godrej and Hindustan Lever. We are entering into all FMCG segments.
Okay.
And you must be knowing that Savlon brand of sanitizers,
Yeah.
Savlon brand of soaps,
Yes.
wet wipes, everything is from ITC, sir. Savlon was acquired by ITC.
Okay, sir.
Sir, I think everybody has joined, sir. We can
Okay, we
start
can
up.
start.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, sure. Sure.
Hi everybody. Good afternoon, one and all. Here we have Dr. Harish from Horticulture College, Mysore. So thank you so much for accepting our invitation, sir.
It's my
You can
pleasure.
briefly introduce yourself and start up the session, sir. Thank you so much for the session, sir.
Okay, right.
Welcome, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Anandal. So actually, I am working with Ginger since last 4-5 years very intensively, rather. So I am going to a lot of ginger fields across Karnataka and a few in Kerala also. So since I specialized in plantation spice crops, and more than that, it is one of the top commercial crops also in the country, and it's grown in I think more than 8 states, and India is the world leader in ginger production. So the more interested in ginger is mostly because the higher profit associated with the crop. So with that pretext, so today I'll be giving my experience. It is not necessarily a university package of practice. So I'll be telling many things out of the package which are useful in the field level for identification of field problems and coming out with a strategy for solving the field problems. So I'm basically an horticulturist. I'm not a soil scientist or I'm not a plant pathologist, but I'm closely working with nearly 4,000 farmers doing farming in different crops, right from commercial crops like banana, papaya, then vegetables, colored capsicums, then turmeric, ginger. Most of the commercial horticulture crops I'm there in the field. Only with the curiosity, I was catering to all these farmers because I wanted to learn many things. So of course, I am very proud to say most of my knowledge or wisdom of these crop science, especially the practical aspects, I got those things from the farmers. So I did my graduation during 95, 96 to 2000 from College of Horticulture, Moodigere, close to Chikmagalur in Karnataka. After that, I did my post-graduation in GKVK, US Bangalore. So specialized in plantation and spice crops and to some extent medicinal aromatic crops. So my post-graduation, I was associated with Mother Dairy Food Processing Limited. We started that Safal market for fresh fruit and vegetables in Bangalore, handling more than 60 commodities. I worked there for nearly 6 years. So that was mostly the forward linkage or the front end. So then I was thinking, having a specialization in horticulture, I should be with farmers and in the field, so to help farmers directly. In that context, I changed my job. Then I shifted to a Krishi Vigyan Kendra near Mysore, that is in Suttur, where I got excellent opportunity to work in the grassroots closely with farmers. So there, from 2005 to 2011, I was in KVK, Krishi Vigyan Kendra. In 2011, I moved to Horticulture University just to expand my horizon and jurisdiction. Now our university is having nearly 23 districts as jurisdiction. So that's my brief experience and background. So I'm native to Hassan in Karnataka. So generally we traditionally grow a lot of coconut. So now I am associated with mostly the horticulture farmers since last 15, 16 years. So today I'll be handling, as you are aware, so I'll be sharing my experience associated with ginger crop. So I think that will be sufficient. I would love to hear more questions from your end. And my intention of this webinar is it's not necessarily a one way. I wish it should be two way and more from you rather. So because you are going into the fields. So and unless we build our capacities to cater to the needs of ginger farmers, So it's difficult to handle in field situations. So with that pretext and a small introduction, hope we can start the discussion on ginger. Is that all right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you
Now
so
I'll
much for the
be,
introduction.
yeah. Now I'll be resuming that screen. Hopefully you can see my presentation. So is it visible to everyone now? The screen?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So if some of you need my, I pardon for the, the presentation is in Kannada, but I will be speaking in English. So those who are, speaking Telugu might be, knowing this also. They can read, there is not much difference in reading Kannada or Telugu text.
Yeah, we can read, sir.
yeah. Can you read this slide, sir? This one?
ಸುಸ್ಥಿರ ಶುಂಠಿ ಕೃಷಿ ಸುಧಾರಿತ ಮತ್ತು ನೂತನ ತಂತ್ರಜ್ಞಾನಗಳು.
Oh, excellent, sir. So you will understand both of the things.
It's as good as Telugu only script.
Yeah. So, okay. So Sustira is sustainable because
Sustainable.
ginger it is mostly exploitative crop. The crop is not exploitative, rather the farmers and the trade is exploiting a lot. So we wanted to make it more sustainable with lot of technical interventions related to production. So in that context, I call it as sustainable ginger production. That is more long lasting rather. So I'll be discussing some farmers' experience, some technologies developed in research centers, and some of the critical inputs related to ginger production. This is my mobile number. So if I am not taking the call, you can text me through WhatsApp. So this is my email. Okay. So presently I am working as a assistant professor in Horticulture College, Mysore. Okay. So it's we are very happy to see the smile on a farmer's face, and the smile comes for various reasons. So the most ideal situation is the crops should also smile and the farmer should also smile. Okay, with the least impact to the ecosystem rather. So this particular farm is from Bidar area where they were growing a variety called Mahima. So of course, generally, if the crop is good, farmers will be very happy, whatever the reason may be. Okay. So I am very happy to introduce another farmer who is very close to Srirangpatna. There is a village called Palahalli. If you go via KRS, so that village is successfully growing ginger since 5-6 years. Previous year, he could able to make 20 lakh rupees net returns from just 2 acres, 20 lakh from 2 acres, excellent yield, and he could able to sell most of his crop for seed purpose. So his name is Mr. Hanil. This year also he is growing 5 acres. Those who are nearer to Mysore, if any of you are working near Mysore, you can visit his field. His field is near Palahalli. I am visiting his field tomorrow at 1 o'clock. If any of you can join, I'll be happy to see you guys there. Okay, before I start the technical session, I'll be asking some questions to you. These pictures are from the field, so any of you can identify what is this problem. Divakar, so paneer kotla bottle. Can any of you identify this field problem?
It's blight. Looks like blight, sir.
Okay, it's not blight. Okay, any other guesses?
Sir, it's a toxicity.
No, madam, it's not toxicity.
Nutritional
Might be a
deficiency.
deficiency, potassium deficiency.
Exactly.
Potassium deficiency, sir.
Potassium deficiency. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. It is potassium deficiency. But in field, there is a chances that potassium deficiency and sometimes the leaf spots, advanced stages, they look similar. And sometimes both will be there at the same time. So we should really, figure it out. So throughout this presentation, I will be, showing such photographs. If it is really because of potassium deficiency, the deficiency starts from the lower leaf, and deficiency starts with tip to downwards. Okay, so we call it as marginal chlorosis followed by necrosis. And if it is a leaf spot, you can see leaf spot on any leaf, not necessarily on lower leaves. But potash always starts with the lower leaves, backwards, like this. So what about this? Any guesses?
Calcium or boron, sir?
No, this is also potassium deficiency. The potassium only, I am telling, different symptoms of the same problem. Okay. So it starts tip to backwards. Okay. It starts from the leaf tips. So these are also older leaves. These are not younger leaves. Younger leaf will be somewhere here. Okay. This is also another form of potassium deficiency. What about this?
Blight.
No, this is also potash deficiency, severe potash deficiency, madam. And one more thing, if it is deficiency, it is not visible in only one plot rather, or plant. It will be in a stretch, or if the whole field is uniform, you can see the deficiency throughout the field. But if it is a disease, it may be in one or two plants initially, later it spreads. So that's how you can make out. You have to see whether it is affecting the whole plot or one or few plants. So you can rule out. If it is only in one or two plants, it's a rare chance of potassium deficiency. The deficiency generally, if a particular soil patch is totally distinct, then you can expect deficiency in a particular patch. Or if the soil is uniform, if a particular nutrient is deficient, it will be throughout the field. Hope you will agree with me, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So this is also potassium deficiency.
Yeah.
This is also potassium deficiency. Okay. Can you able to identify this problem? There is some disturbance in between. So can you able to identify this particular problem?
Nitrogen deficiency, sir?
Nitrogen deficiency.
No. Here the leaves are slightly whitish.
Iron deficiency. Iron deficiency.
Excellent, madam. It is called iron chlorosis or phosphorus induced iron chlorosis sometimes, or sometimes calcium induced iron chlorosis, and it is more so in high pH soils. The ideal pH for ginger is 6 to 7.7. 6 to 7 is very ideal. This particular soil pH was, when I visited and tested the soil, the pH was around nearly 9. So out of this soil, we could able to get nearly 400 bags of 60 kg. That is 24 tons per acre. That was an extraordinary challenge for me as a scientist. So this is iron chlorosis. And sometimes if you apply more phosphorus also, there will be problem of iron. If you apply more copper, then there will be iron deficiency. If calcium is more, there will be iron deficiency. So these are antagonistic elements leading to deficiency. Or if the soil pH is above, say, 7.5, so availability of iron is reduced. So in acidic soils, availability is excellent. Therefore, in most of the Malnad kind of heavy rainfall or Malnad kind of climate, we generally don't notice iron deficiency. But in most of the plains where the pH is above 7.5, so you can experience this iron deficiency. So this is also same problem. I am putting different pictures. You can see it's full white color. If the color is slightly yellow in the new leaves, you can suspect sulfur deficiency also. In iron, it is more of whitening type. In sulfur, it is more of yellowing type. This is very particular. This is iron only. The young leaves will be, you can see the deficiency starting from the young leaves. Okay. So unlike in potassium, where the potash is mobile, so you can see the deficiency from the lower leaves. Here iron is immobile. You can see in the younger leaves first. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, because this year I have visited more than 60 fields starting from January. It's an important problem in Mysore area, this iron deficiency. So this is also iron, same. I'm just giving you different pictures so that you will get better perspective. So this is also iron. This is also iron. Okay. This is also iron, but what could be the reason? Can you see these stones? What are these stones?
Calcium.
Yeah.
Calcium stones.
Yeah. We call sunnad kallu antivi. Calcium carbonate and calcium bicarbonate will be more in some soils where the pH is high. These are all actually problematic soil. We have to do suitable amendments. We have to apply before 1 month of planting ginger. Okay. And the iron deficiency is more severe if calcium is more or calcium carbonate is more in the soil. Okay. So any difference between the picture in the left and the picture in the right? It is from the same field. This could be around 60 to 70 days old ginger. Can you make out any difference between the left and the right picture? Same location, same field, but
recovery.
Yeah.
Recovery.
Recovered fields.
Yeah. The left one is say 10 days prior to this one. So this is the recovered plot. Can you suggest some remedies for recover to achieve this based on the problem? The problem was iron deficiency only. So we could able to recover. What we would have advised rather.
Ferrous sulfate foliar spray, sir.
Okay. Then any other?
Have you added any gypsum into the soil? No.
Sir, gypsum, if the pH was above 7.5, we have advised farmers based on soil testing to apply gypsum. This is during the crop period.
Okay.
Generally, during crop period, we will not apply gypsum. It is prior to the planting.
Right to them, yeah.
Right, sir? Sir, as one of you said, what we did one round of foliar spray of simple ferrous sulfate, which is around 25 to 30 rupees a kilo. But what this many companies and many agro people are doing, for everything they are giving chelated micronutrients. I am not against chelated micronutrients. So if the problem is only ferrous, there are no other issues. So no kind of chelation is required. Simple ferrous sulfate will do. Otherwise, the cost will go up. So, but if you spray only ferrous sulfate, once the problem may not be solved. What we did, so we applied 8 to 10 kg ferrous sulfate, either as soil drench or during fertilizer application to these beds. So that will give you some long-lasting relief. And the aim is to reduce soil pH also. So based on the soil test, if the pH was above say 7.5, so in a cropped condition, so as we cannot apply gypsum to reduce the pH, so we were using sulfur granules. So sulfur granules has given an excellent result in reducing the soil pH quickly rather, or making soil more acidic. So we used nearly up to 30-40 kg sulfur per acre depending on the pH, and around 8 to 10 kg ferrous sulfate to the soil, and delaying or avoiding excess phosphorus application, and foliar spray of ferrous sulfate, as some of you said, 3 to 4 grams. That has solved the problem. You want to ask anything related to ferrous chlorosis or ferrous deficiency?
Sir, 3 to 4 grams per liter for foliar spray?
Yeah, for foliar spray 3 to 4 grams. For the drenching we used up to 6 grams.
Okay.
But if you do only foliar spray, the problem will reoccur again after 8 to 10 days.
Okay.
Yeah. The strategy is to reduce the soil pH and to apply some amount of ferrous sulfate to the soil, and also 1 or 2 foliar sprays. And there is one product called Ginger Special or Ginger Rich, which is a micronutrient formulation developed at IASR. So 2 to 3 rounds of spray, that is also ideal. But here the only issue was ferrous. If you can see multiple micronutrient deficiencies, it is better to go for those consortia-based products.
For iron, what is that product, sir, in the market, available in the market now?
No, you can take regular ferrous sulfate.
Okay.
Or otherwise, if you are very rich, you can use chelated, but that is not exactly required actually. Chelation is mainly required for soil or for spraying if you are mixing 3 or 4 different items at a time. Then it will work independently. Otherwise, we don't know the compatibility, and there could be some phytotoxicity and other issues.
Okay.
Yeah. So what could be this problem? This is not a big issue, but some fields we can see this also, like this. Few plants will be like this.
Cupping of the leaves, that may be calcium only.
Yeah, it's both calcium and sometimes copper.
Copper.
Copper, yeah. It is here in this particular case, it was mostly due to copper, but we have not exclusively used copper specifically, because in most of the ginger fields, to control this PTM and other bacterial rots, they'll be using products like copper oxychloride or copper hydroxide or Bordeaux. So that will take care. There is no need of supplementation of extra copper. The amount of copper present in the pesticide itself is sufficient, and this is not a big problem, but iron is a big issue.
Oh.
Yeah. What could be this? You can see this plant. What could be the problem? The internodal length is very less. Leaves are very close to each other, and it is like an umbrella, rosetting kind of.
The rosette, yeah.
Any idea? Rosetting, reduced internodal length, reduced leaf
Boron.
No, madam.
Boron deficiency.
Boron, it will be in the top, youngest leaf or the bud. If affected first, that will be due to boron. But this is mainly due to zinc. Zinc deficiency, madam. So internodal length, reduction in internodal length, and also the leaves are arranged very close to each other and give you a kind of rosetting kind of symptom. This is very typical of zinc. And as per my experience over last 5-6 years, the number one micronutrient deficiency was iron. So zinc and very rarely we find. Okay, what about this? Any idea?
Leaf spots.
Yeah, there are two issues here. One is leaf spot, and the second one is some insect damage also. If you see here, so there is insect damage and the leaf spot. So Phyllostichta leaf spot and insect damage, both are there. And we have noticed other kinds of leaf spots also. Coletotrichum also, we have last year we have took the sections and did some microscopy work, and it was confirmed as Coletotrichum. But whatever the leaf spot, management doesn't change. Almost similar kind of management for leaf spots. Leaf spot is not a major issue, but if not attended, it may become a major problem, and it's more severe during rainy season, because in ginger, generally farmers use micro sprinklers. So if the humidity is more, so that is very conducive for the development of these leaf spots. So this is this particular case is Phyllostichta leaf spot and some defoliator. What about this? Any idea about this?
This should be blight, sir, definitely.
Actually, what the people call blight in ginger is not, it's not at all a blight. So it is because of leaf spots only. So there are many leaf spots after coalescing, so they are becoming like blighted. They'll give blighted appearance rather. So there is no disease called leaf blight in ginger. Okay. So we have multiple leaf spots. Phyllostichta, Coletotrichum, and even Alternaria is also reported. Okay, this is from this particular sample we isolated Coletotrichum. So there is slight difference between this one and the previous one. Here the white elongated spots, these are typical of Phyllostichta. In case of Coletotrichum, after some time you can see hollow at the center. It will drop off. We call it as frog eye spot sometimes. It's more more so in case of chili or capsicums. You might have experienced. There we call it as Coletotrichum leaf spot. So you can see some holes later, advanced stage. So this is also same Colletotrichum. So severe form. This is also same. You see here, don't confuse this leaf drying with potassium deficiency. Okay, here initially it was leaf spot, and advanced leaf spot leading to this kind of symptom. So this is because of Colletotrichum. Okay, can anybody identify this? Any guesses?
This is potassium plus leaf spot.
No, sir. It is a serious problem in ginger and a major issue in ginger.
Rot. Rot, sir, rot.
Yeah, this we call PTM rot. The PTM is the number one disease in ginger affecting the crop and the farmers. It is the deadliest, followed by bacterial wilt. So this in Karnataka farmers call it as Kempu Kole. Okay, so it's sort of orange and yellow tinge starting from the lower leaves. So we are not supposed to get it confused with some other deficiency, especially potassium deficiency. This is PTM rot. And in this is the early stage of PTM. In later stages, if you pull out the stems, it will come very easily. So this is also PTM rot, advanced stage. This is again further advanced. So the whole clump we are going to lose, and it starts spreading through the soil and water. This is the biggest challenge for ginger growers. See here. So it will be dried, and we may lose the entire bed or the entire crop if it is not properly addressed. See here. It's also PTM rot. You can see some white colored mycelial growth here. You can easily pull out in the field. You can easily make out. They are very distinct. If you examine this collar region, there will be water soaked lesions, and they are very soft. You can see here this entire stretch was gone because of the soft rot. PTM Aphanidermatum, the most serious problem in ginger, and it's more so in if water is not managed properly, if the drainage system is not good. So this is another disease, but not PTM. This is Fusarium. Here in Karnataka, farmers call it as Badu Kole. So that Kempu Kole is PTM, Badu Kole is Fusarium, and there is one more Kole which is called Hasiru Kole. That is actually Ralstonia solanaceae, bacterial rot. So here in Fusarium, we don't see that orange reddish marginal yellowing. So here it is the whole leaf, and it mainly comes from the infected seed. It is also called Bellada Roga, Badu Kole or Bellada Kole, Bellada Roga, because if you cut the rhizome, it will be like jaggery in color. So and it mainly spreads through the infected rhizomes. Yeah, can anybody guess this? You can see the leaves are started rolling inwards, but they are still green. They are not turned yellow, rolling inwards.
Calcium.
No. Inward rolling of leaves, a sort of green wilt. What could be the reason? Any guesses? Any others? We have one pathologist. I think I guess the ARI pathologist sir is also here. So hope he can identify this. Any guesses? Any other guesses? This is actually bacterial wilt due to Ralstonia solanaceae. So this is called Hasiru Kole. Hasiru Kole in Karnataka people will call. This is extremely challenging. So managing to some extent Pythium and Fusarium is easy, but managing Ralstonia is very tough, and plants will collapse suddenly. It's the biggest issue presently in ginger cultivation. And without managing drainage, you cannot manage this. What about this? Same thing? Yes, same bacterial rot. How can you distinguish bacterial rot and fungal rot? Any idea? Any test, simple test you can do in the field? Hope there are some pathologists in the group. How do you rule out a particular problem in the field, which is due to fungal, is not due to bacteria? At field level, what can be done, sir?
Sir, actually, whose test is the one generally conducted?
Yeah, exactly, sir.
Oozing
Ooze test, definitely you can perform in the field. So only thing is you should have some polythene cover with water, or you can have a glass in your bag or in your field kit. So you can easily rule out the possibility. Sometimes both can also occur. Both pythium and bacteria can also be there in the same field. So I'll show you some pictures of this year. We have conducted, mostly we are doing ooze test and test for nematode and other things. So unfortunately, most of the cases were found positive. Bacterial rot is very tough to manage. This is a bacterial rot infected rhizome. If you press the rhizomes by cutting and pressing, you may get a sort of milky exudation. Slightly milky like substance will come out. So that's also a problem. Okay. So this is very simple. You can see here, you take the rhizome or the stem close to the ground. So you can put it in the glass, transparent glass. See, it's like a smoke. So this is the confirmatory test for bacterial ooze. So if you treat only the fungicides, so you may not get control for the bacterial disease. I'll also show some video. I'm not sure whether it will play or not. It's not playing, I don't know. Okay. Hope you can make this ooze test yourself. It is not a big thing. Okay, I told you when you take a cross section of the rhizome and if you press hard with your thumb and index finger, you will get a sort of milky kind of things, and there will be discoloration also of the rhizome. So this is a typical symptom of bacteria. What about this?
Root knot.
Yeah, exactly, sir. So in most of the areas from Piriyapatna, Hunsur, this is always there is an association of root knot nematodes, especially in light textured soils, along with bacterial wilt. Because the nematode once infect the roots, it's extremely easy for the bacteria to get in. So there is always association of nematode in most of the cases, more than 90% of the cases. So both nematode and bacteria was present. And if there is a nematode, you cannot expect very good growth. There will be always stunted growth. Okay, what about this?
Sir, a small question, sir.
Yes, sir, please.
See, is there any correlation between and nematode here in ginger?
Correlation means correlate with what?
For example, tobacco, sir.
Yeah.
Nematode infestation, very infestation happens.
Yeah.
And there is a nematode make entry to the root. That is the
Okay.
location where Fusarium gets into the plant.
Fusarium
So
also enters. Yeah.
Similarly, it happens in ginger also.
100% as my observation, wherever there was tobacco previously, in such fields, if they have taken ginger this year, so the problem of nematode and Fusarium was also noticed.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So this one is due to insect damage, what we call pseudo stem borer. Some people will call it a shoot borer or stem borer. It's an insect called Conogatus punctiferalis. It was affected when this leaf was very young, like this. Can you guess what could be the reason for this symptom? Can you identify this problem?
Borer, sir.
Yeah, you see this red circle. There is a small hole on the shoot, pseudostem. So wherever it was infested, the growing leaf will become yellow, and you can easily pull out. Can easily take it out. So this is called dead heart symptom. So this is not a big issue, but we have to manage, and it's severe during rainy season. So I have included many videos, but it was in my laptop. So I am using another laptop. That's why they are not playing most of this. Sorry for that. I can share those later. Okay, what about this one?
Root.
Yeah, root grubs.
Root grub.
Yes, correct. Root grubs are also infesting, ginger this year. So becoming a serious problem. Once they become third instar, it's very difficult to control. Right now, in the beginning, we have used metrrhizium, EPN, and other things. With chemicals, it is very tough to manage. Okay, this is interesting. Can anybody identify this problem? This is relatively a new pest. Hope some of you will identify this. Damaged rhizome. So this is the adult. Any guesses? Have you heard a pest called wireworm, sir? Wireworm. Anybody had heard this? This was reported from Karnataka, even in sugarcane in 2016 itself. Wireworms. So this can stay in this stage for 4-5 years in the soil. Life cycle is very long. So this is in many Unusur and Piriyapatna, I could able to collect this problem, see this problem last year also, this year also. Oh, this don't worry, this is a ginger candy, ginger jelly, ginger oil. Okay. So this is some introduction about the crop. I am not going to elaborate more on these things. But what is interesting is, so 90% of ginger what we are producing is used or traded as fresh ginger only. 90%. Only 10% is value addition, and in value added products, the major one is dry ginger, ginger powder, ginger essential oil, and ginger oleoresin. If we have to export ginger to other countries, so not much scope for exporting fresh ginger. So we have to seriously work on value added products and export the ginger. So these are some medicinal plants of ginger. Start using more of ginger. So you will be protected against COVID. So ginger is having a lot of antioxidants, shagol, gingerol, and it's traditionally used since ancient times in Ayurveda. So it's very predominantly used. It's an excellent antioxidant also. and it's very good. It's good for curing digestion related problems. And usage of ginger is more during winter, especially in North Indian conditions. The ginger chai is very popular. Okay. So this is the ginger harvest window. Generally, we start fresh ginger in the market. Of course, it is available throughout the year, but the peak harvesting season starts from November, December, and January. Here in Karnataka, it is mainly planted from February to May. In northern Karnataka, June onwards. So otherwise, the regular planting season, especially in Mysore area, starts from February only and extends up to April. And this is the harvesting season, November, December, and January. These are the major ginger pockets in India. So coming to soil and climate, of course, if you are a good manager, so you can grow virtually in any kind of soil. Only issue is how well we manage that soil. Otherwise, from a crop perspective, well-drained soil is most important. So if the soil is too sandy, so the problem of nematode will be more. So the red loamy soil, what we call horticulture soil or garden soil, that is the best. But some farmers are growing in black soil also. Some farmers are growing in too sandy soil also. It depends on the management. So the ideal pH, as I said earlier, it is between 6 to 6.5. So if you could able to manage the ginger soil pH to this range, so almost you can successfully grow ginger very well. So this is of course distribution pattern of water. Okay, this is most ideal, but people are growing in all sorts of soils. So coming to the climatic requirements, ginger, of course, it started from Kerala traditionally. It's a warm, humid climate it requires. High temperature and high humidity. Not throughout the cropping period, but at certain crop growth period. Initially during germination period, so low temperature and high humidity is required. So during maturation, high temperature and low humidity is required. Any issues related to soil and climate, if you want to ask, you can ask now.
Sir, are there any farmers who are growing under rain-fed conditions, sir? I mean,
Sir,
whenever we see ginger plantation, we are seeing the sprinklers being lifted. I mean, every farmer is using sprinklers.
Sir, the issue is it's a shallow rooted plant or a monocot or a fibrous root system with very shallow roots. So you can, and it is very, very sensitive to moisture stress. Even if you cannot irrigate ginger for say 4 or 5 days, so we may lose the crop. So the chances of growing ginger as a rain-fed crop is very remote, provided we will get rain for at least 6 to 7 months. If in any of the places, if the rainfall is most probably in some northeast states, Sikkim, Assam, Manipur, few farmers growing it as rain-fed, but not in places like ours, either Andhra Pradesh or Karnataka or Tamil Nadu, whatever. It's very tough. In Kerala also, from April to November there will be rains, but again it's better to have protective irrigation. But in rainfall areas, challenging is managing the rot diseases, rot and wilt. Any other question? For germination, ideal temperature is 25 to 27.5. That means if you put ginger in, say for example, March or April, where temperature is nearly around 35 to 40, so we'll face a serious issue of very poor germination. So it allows cooler temperature as far as germination is concerned. Why people are using sprinkler mostly is to create build humidity, but sprinkler is not always essential in all the areas. If in a particular area humidity is good, so better to go for drip in place of sprinkler. That's what I'm suggesting to many of the farmers from even Hunsur, Piriyapatna. no need of going for sprinkler. Many times sprinkler will cause us two kinds of problems. One is there will be more weed growth, and the second is the chances of foliar diseases like leaf spots will be more if you go for sprinklers. But there are some places which are really very hot, like northern Karnataka and Bidar, so where ginger is grown. So there sprinkler could be ideal. Or if some farmer is starting very early, say January, these February, March, and April, May months are summer months, so better to have sprinkler. Coming to varieties, so the predominant variety grown is still Rio de Janeiro. That is the number one variety being grown. There are some improved varieties. Among the improved variety, which is quite popular with farmer, is Mahima. The another interesting point about Mahima is it is tolerant to root knot nematode. The nematode infestation is very less in Mahima, whereas Rio de is highly susceptible. So wherever there is issue of nematodes, whether it is tobacco area or whether it is the light textured soil, so it is sensible to go for a variety like Mahima. And the selection of variety depends on the purpose, because most of the farmers are worried about the yield, fresh yield. So they'll be invariably going for Rio de Janeiro. If you want really big and plumpy rhizomes, you have to go for a variety called Varada. These are improved varieties from IAS or Calicut. So for drying, Himachal is good for dry ginger. Then for oleoresin, Maran, Subhada, Suruchi are good. But if somebody is interested to extract essential oil, he can go for a variety called Rajata. If somebody wants ginger with very less fiber, fiber hut harvest I am speaking, not fiber at different growth stages. Suppose if you harvest ginger early, it will not, there will not be any fiber. But hut harvest, say after 8 to 9 months. So if somebody wants a variety with low fiber for processing, so they can go for Mahima and Subhada. You want to ask any questions on varieties, you can ask now. Planting material.
Sir, there are few ginger, we call it as, which is a lemon flavored ginger.
Okay.
Actually, that is a sour in taste. What is that one, sir?
So I don't know exactly. I have not come across. If you have more information, kindly share with me, sir. I'll explore.
Okay,
Maybe
sir.
the lemon flavored ginger might be having more of citronellol or citronellol, aldehyde and alcohol. That is the one which is responsible for the lemon flavor. But is it available in India, sir?
Yes, yes.
Where, which part of the country?
In Andhra, here and there we find it. Actually,
Okay.
the ginger is sour in taste.
Sour into what? How you use it, sir? For pickling or some other thing?
Generally, they use it in while making curries to
Achha.
get a flavor of ginger as well as to have some sour taste. Generally, they apply, sir.
Sir, what I sincerely request you is for the next season,
okay,
if you can able to get me 4-5 kgs of that seed material.
Seed, let me let me check, sir.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
normal material is generally available. That is very smaller. Size is also very smaller, but cost is very high.
Because most of the local varieties size is small, but they are excellent. They are preferred actually traditionally or locally. People will prefer that. If you can able to get me some seed, so
Sure.
it's really appreciable, sir.
Yeah, definitely, sir. I'll
Even
inquire.
otherwise, even if you get some market sample, I have not seen lemon flavored ginger here, so
Okay.
I would love to see that, sir.
Okay. Lemon flavored means in terms of taste I'm talking about.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Is it more pungent?
No, it's not more. It's not more pungent.
Only flavor.
Only flavor. Generally, what happens, sir? Not in addition to making sabji out of it.
Yeah.
Generally, this bhaji, mirchi bhaji kind of thing.
Yeah.
Generally, they put inside, which will give some. In addition to ginger flavor, it will also give some lemon flavor and taste.
Okay, 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 okay. So these are some improved varieties released from IASR. So these are also becoming quite popular. But the number one still is Rio de Janeiro because it is very high. But if you see the disease susceptibility, the Rio de Janeiro is more susceptible. So generally very high yielding varieties are highly susceptible. So Himachal, the problem is less. Mahima is tolerant to nematodes. So these are the characteristics of the varieties. If for the next season, if any of your farmer wants to try different varieties, so you can really put an indent for such improved varieties right now. Maybe in the month of November, if you can place the indent, we could able to supply. So generally the planting time I discussed, it starts from January end, it goes till July, depending on the area. In Kerala and southern Karnataka, yes, February to April is the season. In northern parts of Karnataka, it's after June only, because summer is very severe there. And another thing why here early planting is, if you plant in February, by the time rain starts, the ginger has grown 4 or 5 months, so it can tolerate heavy rains also. Because generally it is grown in heavy rainfall areas. That is the reason. Coming to land preparation, since it is a rhizome, so the art of getting higher yield lies definitely with the kind of land and how it is prepared, especially the bed preparation. So better to break the hard pan with a very deep flow called chisel flow. So it goes very deep, up to 1.5 to 2 feet it can go, single flow. That is called chisel flow. It will break all the hard pan. Then you can use the disc for breaking the clots. Then at the finally you can go for cultivator. So coming to the bed size, so minimum should be 3 feet. The bed dimension width minimum should be 3 feet. Height should be based on the severity of rain and the severity of the disease. Considering heavy rainfall and the disease severity, so if the drainage channels are very deep, it will be excellent proposition, because you use any amount of pesticides, it's difficult to manage the wilt disease. So one of the best strategy is to avoid any water logging kind of things and to have an excellent drainage system. So the length is based on the convenience, but you can go up to 20 feet, because if the beds are too long, the disease spread, checking the disease spread becomes difficult. That's why you can break after every 20 feet. So number of rows of ginger per bed should be 2. Some people will be putting 3 rows, some will be putting 4 rows. That's not ideal. Better to have only 2 rows. And between these 2 rows on the bed, there should be at least 1.5 feet. And between the 2 plants in a row, it should be around 20 to 25 centimeter, maximum 1 feet. And the drainage channel, or between 2 beds, you can give 1.5 feet or 45 centimeter walking space, which is required for spraying and other cultural operations. Any clarifications regarding these beds you need?
Sir, what should be the what should be the length of the bed?
Yeah, it should not be more than 20 feet, sir.
Okay.
Considering the disease, so if the bed length is short, it's better.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. So coming to the seed rhizome, so sir, it's most important to have quality planting material which is free from any rhizome rot or any nematodes, because it's struggling with infected material is really a big struggle. So one should really test for Fusarium, for Pythium, and for this Ralstonia. And it's better to avoid planting material from infected field, because if you are, you should physically see the field, not while taking the seed. 2 to 3 times at different crop stage, you have to visit that field. If you are satisfied that this particular field is very low incidence of disease or there is no disease, it's better to take from such fields. So otherwise it's very tough proposition. So most of the farmers are making a compromise at this stage. If there is a huge demand for seed and if there is a availability is an issue, so then they may take any seed which is at their disposal. So it should not be. So better, what I suggest, so if somebody is planning for next year, so he can grow his own seed this year, because cost of the seed material is very high. Generally, in case of ginger, per acre they use 18 to 20 bags minimum. A bag in ginger means 60 kg bag. That means nearly 20 bags means 1.2 tons. And the price will, if the market price is 3,000, the seed rhizome price may go up to 5,000 per bag. 20 bags into 5,000 is 1 lakh. It's very high. Cost of production, cost of the seed is very high. So if you really want to reduce seed cost for your farmers, you suggest them to put some in small area, 2 guntas, 3 guntas, or depending on the requirement, how many acre they are growing next year. So that is the best way, and they can ensure so the disease-free material also if they are growing on their own. And the seed, each plant will produce under extremely good management. You may get more than 2 kg per clump. So you have to break that clumps or the rhizomes. The minimum size should be 30 grams. Farmers will use up to 50, 60, 70 grams also, because there is a positive correlation between higher seed rate and higher yield. But you cannot, after a certain level, you cannot increase it, because if it is your own seed, I still prefer you use higher seed rate. If you are buying from others, so at least it should be around 800 kg to 1 ton is sufficient. The minimum weight per hill of the seed should be at least 30 grams. You want to ask anything here related to the seed? It's an important aspect.
Anybody growing in trays, the seedlings, and then transplanting?
Sir, my personal experience with pro trays is not good, because any amount of management you can make, the performance of seedling grown ginger versus rhizome grown ginger, if you compare, rhizomes are still better. We have standardized this technology for turmeric. Many farmers are using, and they were successful in case of turmeric, but it's not same in case of ginger.
Okay.
Yes, sir. And now some tissue culture companies are also producing seedlings. I never recommend tissue culture seedlings for the farmers. Of course, they are disease free, but the yield after first season, what we are going to get is very less compared to the traditional method.
Oh.
Yeah. This is what I was about to tell this. So you have raised the question. Pro trays they can make, but if you are having your own seed, this tray technology is for just varietal multiplication to increase the volume of the seed of a particular new variety. Otherwise, the regular traditional method is best. But only issue is it should be disease free. So coming to seed treatment, most important aspect here, as I said, there are 3 diseases. One is Fusarium wilt, the major is Pythium, and another important issue is Ralstonia. These 3 things should be considered, and also there is a problem of insects. There is rhizome scale and other pests are also there. So considering those things, we have to work out the seed treatment methodology. Either farmers may not consider all the 3 diseases and the insect, or the treatment duration is very less. What farmers have seen, many farmers, 2 minutes, 5 minutes dip, 10 minutes dip. It is not sufficient. So what I suggest is at least 45 minutes to 1 hour dip in the solution. And the same solution, prepared solution, can be used for treating maximum 3 to 4 sets of seed rhizomes, not more than 4 times. Fresh solution has to be prepared. So here they can go for Mancozeb 3 grams and Quinalphos 2 ml. Better is carbendazim and Mancozeb is better, because the carbendazim is good for Fusarium, Mancozeb is good for Pythium, whereas this bacterianashak, that is Bronopol, immunomodulator, so that will take care of Ralstonia, prevention against Ralstonia. So though I have mentioned here some antibiotics, so it is better to avoid antibiotic. So in place of antibiotic, you can go for antibacterials like Bronopol. Okay. So there are different combinations. Carbendazim Mancozeb is found to be better. Carbendazim, Mancozeb, Quinalphos, and bacterianashak, or that is Bronopol. So that is the best combination as per my experience. And minimum 45 to 60 minutes duration of treatment, and it should be shade dried for a day, and then next day test. And another thing is here, immediately after harvest, so before storage also you have to treat once, and before planting also you have to treat, because there will be dormancy for 1.5 to 2 months. The sprouts will not come immediately if you put the fresh ginger for planting. So those who are farming organic farming, they can use this Trichoderma, Pseudomonas and other consortia, or they can go for Bordeaux and they can do seed treatment. Any questions related to seed treatment? This is a very important component and there are many mistakes done by farmers. If you have any queries related to seed treatment, please ask. Okay, I assume there are no questions. So actually the art of succeeding in raising an excellent crop lies not with the package of practice. It actually lies with the management and more particularly, we have to customize our advisories. What I mean to say is, there is a package of practice. The same package of practice is not suitable for all the farmers. So each farmer is different, each farm is different, his requirement is different, crop requirement is different, because we don't know the crop history, what was done previous year, so what is the fertility status of the soil. So it's a big variable. Most of the failures in Indian agriculture is because the system has failed in giving customized advisories. I strongly suggest a company like ITC and their extension force to consider this point and make an impact among the farmers. Customized advisory is the need of the hour. What many people will do now. So I have mentioned, say 1 ton seed should be used, 10 ton FOM should be used, 1 ton neem cake should be used. Like this cannot be, of course, seed can be, you can try almost same. There is not much difference with seed rate. Other things, what I have mentioned here, the inputs, it cannot be a fixed one. It depends on the nutrient status and other criteria. You have anything to ask here? Don't give a blanket recommendation to the farmer. Here I have mentioned some interesting inputs. Bone meal, it's an organic source for phosphorus, also rich in calcium. So you encourage farmers to use bone meal. Here for ginger, they can go up to 500 kg per acre. They can reduce pea fertilizers. And also there is one rice hull hash. You might have heard that paddy hull hash, or what we call in Kannada budi. That's also very important, because it is rich in silicon and potassium, very much important for ginger crop. So you have to customize the requirements depending on the farmer's needs. So coming to the nutrient management, so very, very important aspect of any crop management you will be knowing. So I will be talking of nutrient management for a targeted yield of at least 20 tons, 20 ton per acre. We say at least 350 to 350 plus bags. That will be excellent. Yeah. So here I have given, suppose if any particular soil for getting 20 ton yield, if you assume you are getting 20 ton yield, the soil is, these are the nutrient removals. So to make 20 ton yield, the soil has removed 70 kg nitrogen, 25 kg phosphorus, C potash. So generally we assume nitrogen requirement will be more. Highest requirement in terms of quantity for ginger is potassium. So followed by nitrogen. After nitrogen, phosphorus. Calcium, of course, nearly 9 kg. So again, you have to work out individual nutrient schedules for every farmer based on soil and soil test values or leaf nutrient.
Sir, potash form.
Sir?
Both will potash form.
Murate of potash or SOP, sir?
Sir, can mute yourself. Okay. So farm also, it depends on the soil pH. Some soils are acidic, some soils are basic. So if you are cultivating ginger in pH, soil pH above 7, it is sensible to use SOP, because there will be some chloride toxicity if you use muriate of potash. So if the soil is, say for example, some people are growing in Madikeri where soil pH is 5.56. It's highly acidic. So in that condition, better to use MOP. If you use SOP, you are again decreasing the acidity. The problem of acidity will be enhanced. So that's why, so you should be very, very careful in selecting the nutrients. I have written in my book, what is the soil pH, what kind of fertilizer should be used. Here also maybe I will be telling in the future slides. Okay, the integrated nutrient management should invariably consist of all this. It's not only for, you see, the first one is organic manures like FYM and oil cakes. Then biofertilizers, you should use, the only suggestion here is try to use very fresh biofertilizer and from an authentic source, because most of the biofertilizers available in the market, so they are very substandard. Better not to use them. Try to get them from best laboratories or from the universities. Then compulsory green manuring before taking planting of ginger is very, very, very essential. So there is one, if there is a problem of nematodes, so there is one crop called Mucuna pruriens. We call it as velvet bean. So that's an excellent, green manure crop, and also it's having a lot of anti-nematicide properties in the root exudates. So better to grow that particular Mucuna pruriens. If anybody needs seeds, you can contact me later. So, or at least sun nymph also you can think. If nematode is not an issue, you can go for sun nymph or senabu. So, organic manures, biofertilizers, green manuring, and then your chemical fertilizers. So, this is both soil application and some sprays will be there. Again, we have to consider the major nutrients, micronutrients, and secondary nutrients. This should be the package. This is for reading the soil test values. Okay, don't worry about this. Okay, so very, very interesting slide. Kindly, don't deviate your attention. So this is the first column is the available nitrogen in your soil. Available nitrogen, available phosphorus, range, different ranges of availability. This year, the second column is for 10 targeted yield. So if you are interested in only 10 tons or 12 tons or 20 tons, I have seen farmers going up to 30 tons. So I have made a 20 ton is most ideal. So for getting 20 ton yield, so suppose you have tested your soil. So if your soil test value per acre is available nitrogen is only 60 kg per acre. So you have to apply 213 kg nitrogen at different crop stages. So different forms. Suppose if your soil is having more than 160 kg nitrogen per acre, you see this difference. Only 33 kg nitrogen is sufficient. That's what I meant. You have to customize your advisories based on the test reports. So there is no need of putting 213 kgs for this. Hope you are following me. So it's very important exercise. If you have any doubts related to this particular slide, please ask me. Divakar.
What are the nitrogenous fertilizers recommended, sir?
Yeah, that I'll anyway, in the future slide, I'll tell you, sir. So that's what I'm telling. There is no general recommendation. Only based on your soil test value, you have to arrive at the values of NPK for the targeted yield. So that's very important. Suppose if you don't do soil testing, whether you recommend 33 or whether you recommend 213 kg nitrogen to get 20 tons. You assume you have not done any soil test. Out of these 4 values, which one you recommend to the farmer?
The average one, 160 only.
160.
Yeah, definitely it will be higher side we will recommend because we don't know the values. So that is the reason. So okay, my sincere suggestion is maybe you are doing for tobacco also like this. I am not sure. There is nothing like blanket recommendation because each and every farmer soil is different. Each place is different. Yield levels are also different. So you have to consider all these while arriving at the nutritional requirements. Okay. Now coming to how many times you have to apply the fertilizer. This is very important. Ginger is 8 to 9 months crop generally. So we can go up to 150 days, that is 5 months. Up to 5 months from the beginning, we have to apply the fertilizer in 5 split doses for enhanced nutrient use efficiency for better crop performance. So 5 times you have to apply. Okay. Basal dose, as you are aware, 100% phosphorus, or what I suggest, you may go up to 75% year basal phosphorus, After 45 days, you can go for remaining 25%. That is most logical, because phosphorus, if you use single superphosphate, that will not be an issue. If you use some other sources, there will be some issues like DAP and others. So first, at the time of planting, you have to use phosphorus alone. After 45 days, you are using 1/3 N and 1/4 of the total potash. Suppose if the 100 kg was the requirement to get 20 tons, you are using only 33 kg 45 days after planting. Remaining 30 kg after 3 months. Remaining 33 kg after 4 months. Okay. Nitrogen in 3 splits, phosphorus in 1 or 2 splits, potassium in 4 split doses. So after 3 months or 4 months, potassium requirement is high. But if you apply more nitrogen fertilizer in the beginning, it will not be any use, because the ginger germination to come out, it takes nearly 1 month. So if there are not much vegetative growth, so you cannot expect crop to take more of nitrogen. So it is logical to use the highest nitrogen requirement is between 2nd and 4th month. So accordingly, we have given this schedule. So any queries related to splitting the nutrients across the cropping period? Minimum 5. Okay. So I am giving example for this. I assumed one of the soil test report is having only the nitrogen between in this range, 60 to 100 kg. So I have to apply 162 kg like that. So the phosphorus I have taken 4 to 12 kg and potassium I have taken 40 to 120 kg. For that specific case, I am saying this. So here I split the nutrient. See, for example, here phosphorus is in this range. Okay, I have to apply 33 kg. So I applied 33 kg phosphorus as basal dose. Okay, this 162 kg to get 20 tons, I have split for 3 times, 45 days, 90 days, and 120 days. So that comes around 54, 54, and 54 kgs. So potassium also 4 splits. Potassium requirement was around 64 kgs. So considering this particular table, so I split into 16 kgs for every split. So this is soil application I am speaking. Any doubts? Okay, some of you are asking which fertilizer has to be used. Source. Okay, if the soil pH is less than 7, say soil is acidic, for the source of phosphorus you have to use rock phosphate, because other forms of phosphate are not soluble in acidic soils. So you have to invariably use rock phosphate if the pH is less than 6.5. Okay, if it is more than 6.5, you can use DAP and other things, SSP and other things. So for this, in this particular case, the soil is less than 7, so go for rock phosphate as source of phosphorus, urea and MOP as source of N and K. Again, since you are splitting 3 to 4 times, it is sensible to use different forms. Don't use only urea. Okay, sometimes you may use calcium nitrate because calcium requirement is also there. So you can wisely choose the source of fertilizer. Suppose if the soil pH is more than 8, so I have used SSP as a source of phosphorus, because SSP contains, in addition to phosphorus, sulfur and calcium. That is the benefit of SSP, and it is the leaching losses are very less for SSP. If the soil pH is more than 8, so but ginger requires less than 7, right? So I chose ammonium sulfate.
Even here? Huh?
Ammonium sulfate as source of nitrogen and SOP as source of potassium, so that we can reduce the soil pH to some extent. Any doubts with this? There is some disturbance. Do you have any queries?
Discussion.
You have any issues?
Nahi bola.
Okay. So if there are no questions, I will proceed. Yeah. Depending on the soil pH and crop requirement, you can choose the source of fertilizer. Suppose, as I said, if it is less than 6.5 as source of nitrogen, you have to choose either calcium ammonium nitrate or urea or calcium nitrate. A source of phosphorus, you have to use either rock phosphate or bone meal. A source of potash, you have to use muriate of potash. If it is more than 7.5 pH, you have to use acid forming fertilizer like ammonium sulfate or DAP. For the source of phosphorus, you have to use either DAP or bone meal or phosphoric acid or single superphosphate. Source of potassium, you have to use SOP, like that. It's very, very, the art of raising a good crop mostly lies with how well you schedule your nutrients and the kind of importance you are giving for scheduling. This is another soil. You see here the soil pH was 5.9. So it's acidic soil. Conductivity is okay, not a problem, but soil is acidic, whereas NPK is mentioned here. The available NPK 160, 32 and 165. Okay, we'll see how nutrient has been scheduled for this particular crop. So to get 25 tons of yield with 5.9 pH, so only thing you have to apply, you see here we are applied only 45 kg of nitrogen because soil already contains 160 kg nitrogen. Only 10 kg phosphorus, see, only 40 kg potash. So that's how you see here dolomite has been advised based on this pH 5.9 because the ideal pH is 6.5 to 7. So to increase the soil pH, 1 month advance we have used dolomite. We could have used only limestone or sunna, but we have advised dolomite because it contains both magnesium and calcium, which are highly leachable in heavy rainfall areas. So this is ideal. This is 1 month advance. So some farmers will use dolomite at the time of planting. Don't do that. So advise them at least 1 month prior they have to use, and remaining fertilizer have been split into 5 times, okay, as I discussed. So this is if they have tested. If they have not tested the soil, they should have used, I have compared here, I'll show you. You see 294 kg they should have used if there was no testing, SSP. Since they have tested, they have used only bone meal 50 kg at the time of planting as source of phosphorus. If they would have not tested their soil, they should have used nearly 6 bags of SSB. See, 6 bag and 1 bag. So that is the beauty of testing the soil like that. So here I have compared. If they have done soil test, they have not done soil test. You see here, urea, if they have tested, they have used only 65 kg. If they were not testing, they should have used 320 kg, like that. Similarly, MOP are only 51 kg, 70 kg. Calcium nitrate, see, 75 kg, 355 kg. There's a lot of difference. So one should really test, and based on the test only, we should schedule the nutrients. So if they give nutrients excess, there will be problem. So you might have heard about synergism and antagonism. Every extension worker should know what is the synergy between two nutrients, whether they are compatible, they are synergistic or antagonistic. For example, I initially discussed iron, right? So iron deficiency, not necessarily always it is not there in the soil. If it is phosphorus is excess, there will be fixation, so it will not be available. If calcium is excess in the soil, so again there will be calcium phosphate. Phosphorus, iron is not available. So something, we should know the interaction between the nutrients. If you give excess also, there will be problem. Timing, source, quantity, and the way we give nutrients. So all these things matter. So there is one product called Ginger Rich, the technology developed from Indian Institute of Spice Research, Calicut. So it is also not blanket recommendation, but so it's a micronutrient formulation containing iron, zinc, manganese, copper, and boron. So only foliar spray, maybe around 5 to 6 kg per acre is sufficient. Only 2 sprays. If required, third spray has to be given. You can start this spray from 60 days, 90 days, and 120 days. It's called Ginger Rich. Again, there are 2 products. If the soil pH is more than 7, the different product is there. If the soil pH is less than 7, there is a different product. While purchasing, you should purchase based on the soil pH, and you should specify the supplier. Your soil pH is, say, for example, 7.5 or 6.5, something like that. So you can see the tillering here. So it's excellent tillering. Okay. So the average number of tillers should be very high. Okay. So farmers will really struggle to make more numbers. So what I have seen up to, I have seen per clump.
Sir, if
50 tillers also I have seen. Yes.
So suppose if more number of tillers are there, doesn't really lead to rot?
No. There is no relation between number of tillers indicates how well you have managed your nutrients. Because
Yes,
more
sir.
tiller means more yield. Okay. If you are having only say 15 tillers, you cannot expect 400 bags. So our aim is to increase the tillering. More tiller, more.
Is there any limit? Is there any limit or something like if it crosses such numbers?
No. There is no such limit. No such limit. Only thing is you should maximize the number of tillers. I have seen in one field up to 80 tillers. That is extraordinary. But average should be at least 25 tiller per plum. 25 and above.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
When the number of tillers increase, automatically the aeration will not be there, sir, and still it will be irrigated frequently. So
I agree, but the issue is yield is based on the number of tillers.
Yes, sir.
So our ultimate objective
like
is to
our
get to
optimum.
high yields. Yeah, optimum is around 40 tillers after 4.5 months of age. We should have 40 tillers.
Okay, nice.
Yeah. Besides that nutrient scheduling, I have given from 1 month to 7 months some sprays or some drenches for enhancing the growth, for enhancing the number of tillers, for enhancing the performance of the crop as a whole. This is very, very important. In the first month, so I have advised to go for drenching humic acid in the beginning, post planting, say around maybe 10 days after planting or 15 days after planting. You have to do drenching only once at a rate of 3 to 5 ml per liter. This humic acid promotes rooting, and there will be increased root growth and activity. Better roots, more roots means definitely it is going to be a plus for the crop. This is the first month. Second month, there is one product from Syngenta called Isabian. It is a seaweed based product. I am not promoting any company or any product. So based on my experience, what has given excellent results over the years, I am included all those in these packages. So second month I have recommended Isabian 3 ml per liter, again one drenching. So you might be knowing farmers themselves, they can prepare what is called as Jivamrita. So there is a procedure. So that 1 to 5 months, once in a month, so they can give 250 to 300 liters per acre drenching. Okay, they can do it. So there is one more product called waste decomposer, just 20 rupees bottle, but 7 days preparation is required. So again, that also 15 days alternatively they can use this Jivamrita and waste decomposer. They are really doing good. You can really reduce some fertilizers, and from the soil microbial activity, this is important. Okay. Third month, there is a product called Amino Gold. This is based on some amino acid formulation, 2 ml per liter. It has to be sprayed 2 ml per liter. So alternative to this, they can make their own amino acid. You might have heard about some farmers spraying egg and oil combination for chili in Raichur areas. So this egg is having nearly 8 to 10 amino acids required for plant growth. Only thing is you have to dissolve these eggs in 1 liter any edible oil, cooking oil, sunflower or any edible oil, and you have to use some wetting agent. So that is easily dissolvable. That can be in 200 liter water. You can prepare the solution and you can spray. That also acts as anti-transparent. That also gives protection against insects. That also gives required amino acids, because Amino Gold, this product might be costly. If you use egg in 200 rupees, the entire job will be done. So that's a low cost methodology. Again, from 1 to 3 months, 19-all, water soluble 19, 5 gram per liter, you have to spray once in 15 days. Okay. Of course, first month there will not be any, because germination itself starts after 20 days. Maybe from second and third month, once in 15 days, for better growth, you can use this. From 4th month onwards, you can use potassium nitrate at 5 gram per liter once in 15 days. 5 and 6 months potassium requirement is more, you can go for SOP, that is sulfate of potash as foliar spray once in 15 days. So, and last, there is one important compound which is written here as Mepiquat chloride. Very few farmers may use this, but it's very important. So you have to use this very carefully. only 2 sprays after 6 months only, not before that. If the ginger plantation is in coconut orchard or arecanut orchard, you can use mepicot chloride slightly earlier, 4th month. So mepicot chloride will do, it will translocate most of the photosynthetes present in the leaves to the developing rhizome and contributing for 15 to 20% increase in rhizome. This is very important. Mepicot chloride available as Chamatkar. This slide is also extremely important. Okay, you can see some drip irrigated and fertigated ginger, extraordinary performance. Okay, so because don't be under the impression that ginger has to be grown only with the use of sprinkler. It depends on the humidity of the area. And with fertigation, so the fertilizer application is reduced. So otherwise 3, 4, 5 times you have to disturb the soil. That may be negative in terms of disease management. You can see the growth. This is a typical black cotton soil, but they have grown ginger very beautifully. So like this is the fertigation schedule also I have given. So weekly fertigation from week 3 to almost 20 weeks I have given this fertilizer schedule. So we used fertilizers, water soluble fertilizers like phosphoric acid, monoammonium phosphate, urea, ammonium sulfate, MOP, and all this. So if any of you are specifically interested, I can discuss. Otherwise, I'll skip this fertigation. Okay. So basic requirement for fertigation is you have to go for drip. With sprinkler, you can't do that. Then for organic, if anybody, some farmers are also asking us, what is the organic package, nutrient management? It's very challenging. See here for per acre, we are suggesting 25 tons farm manure, nearly 5 to 7 tons of green leaf mulch twice, then biofertilizers, then oil cake like neem or pongamia cake up to 2 tons once at planting, and at 90 days also again one more application because organic nutrients, so it's very tough. Then rice hull hash around half ton 2 times, because after 4 months potassium requirement is very high. This rice hull hash is rich in potassium. Even banana stem sap, if you can extract, that's also very good source of potassium, organic potassium. Then rock phosphate, all these things can be given. And Jivamrita, waste decomposer solution, has to be given once in a week or once in 15 days. Organic nutrient management. This is per acre. So mulching is very important in ginger. The practice is to use paddy straw, or you can go for sugarcane thrash also. So depending on the local availability. Some farmers will also use green leaf mulch. That is excellent. If you can get neem leaves, so the disease incidence has been correlated to be extremely less wherever neem mulch is used. But so much of biomass availability is a big question. Mulching is very important for weed growth, for reducing the weed growth, for conserving moisture, and for build up slightly high soil temperature for a germinating rhizome. Water management, yes, very important. So instead of giving water, so one time only in a day or once in 2 days, you can increase the frequency, reduce the volume. That will be ideal. Mostly most farmers, you go for micro sprinklers or micro jets, what they call. Now I am suggesting many farmers to go for drip, and they have got excellent results wherever the humidity was high. You can see this is a drip irrigated and fertigated. In half acre, this farmer from Hoskote in Bangalore, he could able to get yield equivalent to 1 acre. So fertigation and drip irrigation. Intercultivation is also there. Oh, coming to herbicides. Okay, so within 3 days of planting ginger, you can go for an herbicide. You might be knowing Oxygold or something like that. That is technically oxyflorphen. Only 1.5 to 1.5 ml per liter. At least 200 liter solution should be used. That is a pre-emergent herbicide. Either oxyflorphen or diuron or pendimethalin or metribuzin. Any one of these 4 as pre-emergent herbicide. Then after 20 to 25 days, if ginger is not sprouted, if there are no leaf formation, you can go for 5 ml per liter Mira 71, or you can go for some grass killers like propaquizapop ethyl or propaquizapop or quizalapop ethyl. So now after 100 days also, some people are using herbicides like diuron and Quizalpop ethyl, because in the channels, drainages, there will be a lot of weeds. On the sides of the beds, there is a lot of weeds. So you can use this diuron and Propaqizapop or Quizalpop ethyl. So only thing is the spray solution should not fall on ginger leaves. So if it falls on the stem, there is no problem. Otherwise, there will be slight scorching. You want to ask anything related to herbicides? It's also very important. Don't advise without having the prior knowledge about a herbicide. If you have any queries, I can answer. Okay. So then different croppings. If there's many farmers are growing ginger in coconut as a mixed crop or intercrop, and some farmers are growing, see here, coconut and ginger, but yield will be less under coconut shade. And whenever if somebody is growing ginger under coconut or arecanut, you have to suggest 1.5 times more potassium than the recommended dose. Potassium requirement will be high. See here in arecanut they have grown. So this is in coconut. Oh, okay. Some companion crops like castor or pigeon pea, which are very ideal, but don't sow castor or pigeon pea very closely. Maybe 12 to 15 feet distance between castor or pigeon pea is ideal, because ginger may not require 100% light. Light requirement is 75 to 80%. So it's very ideal. So these are the pests I have discussed already. This is the pseudostem borer. So the same problem here, pseudostem. You can easily see hole and excreta. So the root grubs. So the best way is at the time of planting, you can enrich your compost or neem cake with all these biologicals, Trichoderma, Pseudomonas, then Paecilomyces. Wherever nematode is there, you can go for Paecilomyces. Wherever you are expecting to have root grub problem, you can include Metarhizium also, or EPN, entomopathogenic nematodes. So these are all good practices. You see, these are the pests. You can see your rhizome fly. So there is another severe pest. So this was the symptom because of rhizome fly. It is affecting the rhizome. Inside the rhizome, it is completing the life cycle. So the plant performance will be less. So you can only use chemicals. Okay. See, this is rhizome fly. You can see the fly here, larva here, rhizome fly larva or the grub. You can see this is cutworm. Cutworms also in some places were reported. You see the crop yellowing. If you don't see the roots, we may diagnose this as some nutrient deficiency, yellowing of leaves or iron deficiency like that. So you should see both the leaves, the roots. You have to inspect thoroughly to come to a conclusion. This is potassium deficiency. This is soft rot severe. So I have shown this. These are all different kinds of soft rots. Pythium, this one is because of pythium. So very devastating disease. See here, pythium. See, some farmers are using lime like this. Okay. So, but thing is, they should remove the infected plants. They have to put, but care should be taken. Soil should not spill on the healthy plants. After removing to this area, they have to put lime and bleaching powder combination, and they have to mix it, and they have to close with the soil, and they have to sprinkle water. Then, because bleaching powder to act, it should become gas. Okay. So only to this affected plant and surrounding plants. That is the first. Foremost important is to remove the affected plant, put bleaching powder and lime combination, and some water, and then they can spray other pesticides. This is soft rot. You see, this kind of kind of drainage, so much moisture is there in the drains. Any amount of pesticide you are putting to the beds will not work. So for higher these rots, the more diseases, wilts and rots, more moisture is the culprit. Infected rhizome is another source. If they are not properly treated the rhizomes at the time of storage or planting, that's again a big mistake. And if crop rotation not done properly, these are all leading to enhanced disease problem in ginger. You can see this is bacterial rot. This is again bacterial rot, ooze test. Of course, this time we have seen a lot of nematode samples. So this is the nematode. You can see Mahima variety is resistant. So nematodes, big problem leading to bacterial rot. So coming to harvesting and other things. So storage. So these are the things. White ginger, some farmers are drying and making calcium and other things. They are making some processed product, white ginger. See, filled in case. So all these are post-harvest related things. Now what I suggest is you can raise queries, we can interact. That will be more interesting. So I am done with my presentation. These are some new possibilities. Some people are growing in polyhouse to have disease-free ginger. Some are growing in this artificial media, coco pit, sterile media. Some are growing like this, so that only infected plant can be thrown out. So like that. So these are all. See, without diagnosing the problem, don't advise any farmer. If you are not sure about the field problem identified, don't. You are not supposed to advise the farmers. And there are thousands of products in the market. So many of them are spurious in the name of organic. So Indian market is dumped with such products, very high costly, but they are not, all of them are not going to work. So on fertilizers, the soil application should not be after 5 months. Up to 5 months you can give to the soil, only foliar spray to some extent later. So ginger doesn't require more phosphorus. Whether it is insect or pest, you have to or nutrient, you have to diagnose properly. Each field is different, so your advisory should be different, especially nutrient and water advisories. Okay? So all these things are very important. So I'm done with my presentation. If you have any queries, I'll answer.
Thank you, sir. This is regarding drying ginger.
Yes, sir.
To make dry ginger, is there any mechanical way of drying?
Sir, yeah, there are some technologies developed at IIS or Calicut.
Yeah.
If you are interested, we can get those technologies. They are not a problem. You can get the information. Yeah.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Sir, what is the conversion ratio green to dry?
Okay.
To dry?
Suppose if you dry say 60 kg bag, you will get 10 to 12 kg per 60 kg. Or nearly 20% you can say.
20% we can take.
Yeah, 20% is ideal, yes.
Sir, are there any sucking complex or sucking insect on ginger?
Sir, as of now, sucking pest issues are very limited. If there is delayed harvesting, you may get rhizome scales. That is the only sucking pest. Rhizome scale, if you are delaying the harvest, because if the price is less in the market, some farmers will not harvest even after 12 months or 13 months, 14 months. So during that time, there is possibility of rhizome scales. Otherwise, thrips and mites have not seen in the field.
Sir, for example, if we come across any bacterial rots, so what is actually the control option, sir?
Yeah, I'll tell you, sir. If there is a bacterial issue, the first and foremost thing in wilt or rot management in ginger is identifying the infected plants, removing the infected plants and destroying them, and for the removed portion, applying bleaching powder and lime and cover with soil and irrigation. That is the one. The next the next approach is to use copper oxychloride at 4 grams and immunomodulator like Bronopol 0.5 gram. Sir, only thing is spray the entire field. Don't drench, but only drench the affected portion and the surrounding plants for bacterial. And every time don't use COC. The next thing is you have to use Kocide. Up to 2.5 gram you can go Kocide. And there is one product called calcium chloride. I am not sure whether you have heard about it or not. So calcium chloride at 20 to 30 gram per liter can be drenched wherever there is a bacterial rot, only to the affected plants, not to the healthy plants. So this is and drainage is the foremost important thing in managing the bacterial rot of ginger.
Sir, there is an apprehension that so if we go for a mechanical drying, there will be a slight deflection or deviation in the chemical parameters with respect to oil content and this thing.
Yeah.
And compared to sun drying. So is that really there is a difference, sir?
Sir, one thing, if you go for sun drying will not be uniform, right?
Correct.
in mechanical drying, you can adjust the parameter because ginger contain essential oil, right? If the temperature goes say 50 degree of drying during drying, so some volatile components will evaporate.
Okay.
So you have to take care of those things. Some compounds are thermolabile. So if you want to conserve all the volatile principles to be intact, so low temperature, longer duration drying is most ideal, sir. Even in mechanical drying.
Then what is the duration, sir? If we have to take up sun drying, so how many days it will take, and in the mechanical drying, how many?
Sir, it all depends on the conditions, whether the season, condition, and the moisture content in the rhizome. So we have to case by case, we have to work out, sir. You cannot generalize it, really. Yeah.
Okay. But the technology.
Traditionally, farmers in Shumoga, Shikaripura, Anuvatti, Sagar area in Karnataka, and they'll go for drying only if the prices of fresh ginger market comes below 1,500 rupees per bag.
Okay.
If the price is above 1,500, nobody is going to dry it. And dried ginger can be kept for 2 years also. There is no problem.
Okay. So but usually, I heard that they go for a drying of second and third grade ginger, but not the first one.
Yeah, sir. Generally, the good ginger will be sold. There is not a problem.
Okay.
And ginger, dried ginger, generally from dry ginger, they are going to convert it into ginger powder mainly.
Okay.
So where size doesn't matter.
Okay.
Whatever they have graded, the left out will be dried and sold as dry ginger.
And this left out ginger, how many bags can we expect, sir, in the at least per acre?
Sir, hardly. It's of course left out means again you're not supposed to mix any diseased or infected ginger during that time. So it's very less, sir. It's not even 10% actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then if it is the case, then if they have to go for this to take up this dry ginger, then the quantity will be less, no, sir. So because for the dry ginger,
sir, what decides drying is the price of the fresh ginger in the trade.
Okay.
That is the main. And another thing is, some traders in Kerala, they specifically ask Himachal variety for dry ginger.
Okay.
This Rio de Janeiro, what 90% of the farmers are growing is not suitable for drying.
Okay.
They have to give it as a fresh only. So whoever has grown dry ginger, they are, suppose if for Rio de Janeiro per bag, if the price is 3,000 rupees in the market, the same year, if he has grown Himachal, he will get 5,000 rupees for the traders who are doing drying of ginger.
Okay.
Again, they will see the economical point of view also, sir. And all varieties are not ideal for drying. Himachal is the best.
Okay. Yeah. But there will be a market this thing based on the variety as well. Is there any price fluctuation? Nothing.
Yeah. Price also, kind of soil also. Suppose if you have grown ginger in black soil and red soil.
Sir.
So the red soil grown ginger will fetch a slightly higher price.
Okay.
And between Mahima and Himachal and this one Rio de Janeiro.
Sir.
So Himachal always priced high.
Okay.
So next Rio de Janeiro, next comes Mahima, like that. Sir.
So at least for drying, at least technology is there.
100% technology is there, and one of my farmer who is growing ginger in nearly 70 acres near Shumoga.
Okay, sir.
So he is drying and he is trading the dry ginger. If any of you are interested, I can give the reference. You can go and
no yes, sir. Can you share his contact?
Sure.
Yes,
but the issue is he cannot speak English. You go with some Kannada.
That's okay, sir. That's okay.
Yeah.
What is the price?
Drying for export should be mechanical.
Okay.
For managing leaf spot diseases, you can rotate this Mancozeb, Zainab, then Tebuconazole, and other triazoles like Propiconazole, and some combination products you can manage this leaf spot diseases. Any other queries?
Sir, any earthing up is required in between for 5-6 months. It is there in the.
Sir, what generally people will do is after every fertilizer application they will do earthing.
Okay.
That's a common practice. Yeah. Certainly it is required. Growing rhizome should not be exposed to the sunlight, sir.
Oh, yeah. Ullas.
Any other queries?
Sir.
I suggest our colleague Ullas can come and see you in your institute, sir, sometime.
No problem, sir. You are most welcome.
Yeah. Ullas, you can
Yes,
spend
sir.
some
Sure, sir.
so that you can get some references and.
Okay,
sir. Sir, what I was referring about this, that ginger, which has got a sour taste.
Yes.
It is scientifically called Curcuma amada.
Then it is not a ginger, mango ginger.
Correct. It is not a ginger.
Yeah.
But locally it is called a mamidi allam. It is called mango ginger.
Sir, we are also using in Karnataka mainly for pickling and for chutney making.
Correct.
Yes. That I am aware. I am having that mango ginger.
Okay. What I was referring is that one.
Yeah. Thank you. Any other questions?
I think you have clarified all the doubts, sir, through your presentation itself. Yes.
I tried my best, but it comes with field experiences.
Definitely,
No, it was an excellent session, sir. Thank you.
It is very good learning experience for us.
Yes.
We never worked on ginger.
No
Today
problem,
we
sir.
learned a lot of things.
Yeah.
From ginger production to organic production to everything.
Yeah.
Though we have worked on chilies, tobacco, and cumin.
Yes.
Really, we learned many things on the ground level.
Yeah. Sir, excellent seed, good nutrient scheduling based on the soil test values, and preventive sprays and minimum interventions. These are very, very important issues in ginger farming. Because some farmers are spending up to 3 lakhs. There is no need. You can go excellent ginger with 1.5 lakh per acre. It's possible.
Very good learning experience, sir, for us. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir, for your valuable time and very good presentation and practical experiences, sharing the practical experiences, sir. Yes. I think we hope your continuous support and guidance for future projects, sir.
Sure.
Yeah, definitely we'll come and meet you maybe this week itself. Yeah. Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, any field issues, anything you need testing or clarification, you are most welcome to our college. And my only sincere advice is don't recommend anything blindly. And each farmer and each field is different. You have to customize, you have to identify the problem properly, then only address. Then farmers will trust you. That is most important aspect. Promote the solution, not the product. That is my bottom line.
Definitely, sir. Yeah. We take your feedback genuinely, and we are not in. Definitely, we take sustainable farming. Think that sustainable farming is a way forward. Yeah. So, thank you so much for your time, sir. Yeah. We will catch up in coming weeks, sir. Thank you so much.
Sir. I welcome all of you to our institute, college.
Thank you, sir. We'll definitely come on.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good day. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Purnesh is here?
Thanks, sir.
Okay.
He has some other work, sir. So he attending some other work. So we will meet, sir.
What
along with the Purnesh.
Narendra ಅವರು ಇದ್ದಾರಾ?
ಇದೀನಿ sir. Narendra ಇದೀನಿ sir.
Okay.
ಹೌದು sir, ಹೇಳಿ sir.
Right. Purnesh, actually, unfortunately, his father-in-law is not well. He had to go to hospital, sir.
No issues, sir. No issues.
So he could not attend this session.
Yeah. But I may also visit your, office near our college sometime.
Yes, sir. We all work from there only. We'll come and see you, meet you, sir.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Good day, sir. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Harish, sir.
Yeah,
we'll meet, sir.
Sure. Thank you.
Yes. I think we can disconnect, sir.
Yeah, we can disconnect. Yes.
Yes.
I'll be signing out.
Yes.
Thank you.